Good day everyone, I am Gabriel Galimundo Quizon of BSc 1-5. Today, I will discuss the latent trait theory and the family studies in criminality that will focus on Jukes family and Kallikak family. Before I start my whole discussion, I will show first the overview of my topic. First, what is latent trait? Second, what is latent trait theory? Third, some example of latent trait. Fourth, the study of Jukes family. And lastly, the study of Kallikak family. So now, what is latent trait? Latent refers to the characteristic being existing but not yet developed or manifest, hidden or concealed. It's also considered a present and capable of merging or developing but not now visible, obvious, active, or symptomatic. And it's also considered as a distinguished quality of personal character and an inherent characteristic. A trait, on the other hand, is defined as something that is representative of an individual and differentiates him or her from other people. The next is, what is latent trait theory? Latent trait theories hold that some underlying condition present at birth or soon after controls behavior. Suspect traits include low IQ, impulsivity, and personal structure. These underlying traits explain the continuity of offending because, once present, it remains with the person throughout his or her life. Latent trait theory says that suspects have low IQ and people with mental illness, so maybe this is the reason why they commit a crime, because that's how they behave and they don't know what they're doing. So the others here are crimes and already hurting other people. Now, I will give you some examples of latent traits. First one is genetic abnormalities. Individual may have fewer inhibition or other issues that would put at risk of them to crime due to genetic abnormalities. Second one, damage or impulsive personality. An impulsive behavior is when you act quickly with no thought to the consequences. There's nothing on your mind beyond that exact moment. Third one is brain damage. For example, in your childhood and your early adulthood, you may increase the likelihood of criminal behavior. This damage typically lowers inhibition or emotional control, affecting the way we respond to triggers environmental. The other example that I found is defective intelligence, either not able to distinguish right from wrong or unable to empathize with victims. The other example is impaired judgment caused by abuse of substance such as alcohol and many different categories of drugs, both licit and illicit, will cause changes to an individual's brain chemistry. And those are some examples of latent traits and how it affects human mind. Next one is latent trait according to Michael Gottfredson and Travis Hirschi. According to them, people with latent traits choose crime over non-crime. The opportunity for crime mediates their choice. Certain people are predisposed to commit crime due to latent traits, or cause of low self-control and weakened social relations, which are thought to be constant over time. This affects their social behavior, so they commit a crime, they don't think about the consequences before they commit a crime. This is because of latent traits. They also lack of communication, socialization, so their self-control also decreases and they can commit a crime. So now we will discuss the study of Jukes family. In this photo, we see some members of Jukes family. So what is so interesting about the story of the Jukes family? Let's find out. The Jukes family. The Jukes family world was mired in crime and poverty, shot through with a habit of illicit sex. The Jukes were not a single family but a composite of 42 families, and only 540 of 709 subjects were apparently related by blood. So the Jukes family is a huge and not a normal family, full of criminals and delinquents. The Jukes Family by Richard Louis Dugdale. Richard Louis Dugdale published his findings in 1877 as the Jukes Study of Crime, Pauperism, Disease and Heredity Dugdale created the pseudonym Jukes, a label for a clan. So despised by the reputable community that their family name had become to be used generically as a term of reproach. Richard was delegated to visit James in upstate New York in jail in Ulster County. Found 6 members of the same Duke family that they were using 4 different family names. So, by the way, who is Richard Louis Dugdale? Richard L. Dugdale or Richard Louis Dugdale is a sociologist, a member of Executive Committee of the Prison Association of New York. He studied the records of inmates of the 13 county jails in New York State, as well as poorhouses and courts. While researching the New York Hills family ancestry in an effort to find the basis for their criminality. On his investigation, he found that of 29 male immediate blood relations, 17 had been arrested and 15 convicted of crime. He began a 6th-generation investigation into the Duke family tree, which led him to an early Dutch settler named Max Duke, a frontiersman who was the descendant of the early Dutch settlers and who was born between 1720 and 1740. Had been the ancestor of more than 76 convicted criminals, 18 brothel keepers, 120 prostitutes, over 200 relief recipients, and 2 cases of feeble-mindedness. Max Duke has 5 daughters named Ada, Belle, Clara, Delia, and Effie, were the focus of Dugdale's investigation. One of Max's daughter, named Ada or Margaret Brown. Many of the criminals could also be linked to Margaret, the mother of criminals, renamed Ada, who had married one of Max's sons, so he married his own brother. Ada Duke, one of Max's daughter, also known as Margaret Brown, is known to anthropologists as the mother of criminals. From here, there were directly descended 1,200 persons. Of these, 1,000 were criminals, paupers, insane, or on the streets. The heritage of crime, disease, inefficiency, and immorality cost the state of New York about $1.25 million. It's a lot of waste of money. The indirect loss was in property stolen, in injury to life and limb no one can estimate. Dugdale debated the relative contribution of environment and heredity and concluded that the family's poor environment was largely to blame for their behavior. Dugdale said that environment tends to produce habits which may become hereditary. The next topic that we will discuss is the Kallikak family. So, what is so interesting about the Kallikak family? Let's find out. The Kallikak family studied heredity of feeble-mindedness. A 1912 book by the American psychologist and eugenist Henry H. Goddard. The work was an extended case study of Goddard's for the inheritance of feeble-mindedness, a general category referring to a variety of mental disabilities, including mental retardation, learning disabilities, and mental illness. He names Kallikak as a pseudonym, using a family name throughout the book. Goddard coined the name from the Greek word Kallios, meaning good, and Kakos, meaning bad. The book begins by discussing the case of Deborah Kallikak. So what is so interesting about the story of Deborah Kallikak and the Kallikak family? Let's find out. Deborah Kallikak is a woman in Goddard's institution, the New Jersey Home for the Education and Care of Feeble-Minded Children. In the course of investigating her genealogy, Goddard claims to have discovered that her family tree bore a curious and surprising moral tale. Deborah Kallikak is a 22-year-old woman who was later tested as having a mental age of 9-year-old kid. He pursued tracing Deborah's family tree, which led him to a man named Martin Kallikak. Martin Kallikak, Deborah's great-great-great-grandfather, a Revolutionary War hero, married to a Quaker woman on his way back from battle. The normally morally upright Martin dallied one time with a feeble-minded barmaid. He impregnated her and then abandoned her. By the way, the term feeble-minded was used from the late 19th century. It referred as a illness, disorder, or deficiency of the mind. So at that time, they have already had a babaero, and one of them is Martin Kallikak. After he abandoned the feeble-minded barmaid, the young Martin soon reformed and went on with his abandon, becoming respected New England citizen and the father of a large family of prosperous individuals. All of the children that came from Martin's relationship were wholesome and had no sign of developmental disabilities. Goddard learned that his ancestors were teachers, physicians, attorneys, and judges, all whom are respected occupation in their community. The good side of the family tree to be these descendants. So the book says that Martin Kallikak children have no mental retardation. They are whole and have a happy life. But the feeble-minded side of the Kallikak family descended from the abandoned single-parent barmaid that Martin Kallikak impregnated and left. According to Goddard, a child was born by the dalliance with the nameless feeble-minded girl. This single child, a male called Martin Kallikak Jr., went on to father more children who fathered their own children, and on down the generation. And so with the Kallikaks, Goddard claims to have discovered one as close as one could imagine, an experiment in hereditability of intelligence, moral ability, and criminality. The children wound the poor, mentally ill, delinquent, and intellectually disabled. It was tracing the family history of Deborah that Goddard and his assistant discovered. That Deborah's family of drunks and criminals was related through Martin Kallikak to another family tree of economy and prosperity. And that's the story of the Kallikak family that Goddard wrote in his book. And that's the end of my discussion. Thank you everyone. I hope you learned something from me. This is the reference that I found in the internet. It always seems impossible until it's done. By Nelson Mandela. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you learned something. Thank you.